Hello everyone. Hey Corey, how you doing? I am getting prepared to paint today. I actually did a little bit earlier. Been having a very, very hot weather here for us. Although, I mean, it happens, but boy, it's pretty hot today. And it's much more challenging than both. We actually were out, Nikki and I were out for a little bit this afternoon, early afternoon, and I think we were actually out by 10, and we're out for a few hours. But man, it was blazing hot at that point in time. But we're inside here. Nikki's actually out here in the studio with me. She's working on a project herself. I am eager to try to get done with as many as I can. I have, I think, 13 or 14 more miniatures to paint for my first wave of Marvel United. I have some others that I will be painting, and Scott's gonna be, I'm gonna pick his game minis up in November. So I will continue to be painting Wave 1, but I will start painting Wave 2. I already have 10 Marvel United painted, which is cool. I'm hoping that it won't take me so long. I'm gonna really try to spend more time doing it. But I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope it's not as hot as it is here. I know in Arizona it's hot. And Scott said in Dallas it's only in the high 80s, so they're getting a break. It's been pretty warm there, so. But we have a few weeks left before we leave for Spiel, although we're going a little bit early. I mean, we're looking forward to it. We definitely, it probably won't be as hot there, but who knows? We were there in August 2 years ago, and it was pretty blazing. I don't remember exactly when. I think it was later. I think we were in Germany till the beginning of September, so about now. So it was a little warm, but it's nothing like this. But we were walking around in Bonn and with our friend, and you know, she's very pale. Nikki's pretty pale too, and it was very direct heat. I think we got food and we're trying to figure out where to just relax to eat, and I think we ended up sitting in the blazingest of, like, a park that was no longer green because they weren't watering the grass because it was so dry. It was just terrible. But let's cut to the table. We actually get to the right shot here. I don't know where the mouse is. I had a problem with this computer earlier where the trackpad wasn't working. There we go. So yeah, I finished. I think I finished it. I might have varnished it on stream. Let's see if this will focus. Yes, it is. It turned out pretty great. I want to do another one. I do have another one to paint. Well, I'll have two to paint, I think. I don't think Scott painted his. And it's neat. I think what I want to do on the next one is actually kind of sharpen his teeth a little bit more by shaving it with a knife, just to see how that comes out, because I was a little too trusting of that stuff and not good. But he turned out cool. Carnage. But yeah, this is, the webbing is just very hard. It looks pretty good. In life, it looks a little odd on camera, I think. But here, it looks good on the table. It's really shockingly cool. Actually, this is done. So I've been organizing the miniatures because I got a lot done. I've varnished all the, not varnished, primed all the ones that I have not got completed, that I also have with me because I did the secondary set as well, because I wanted to actually varnish, wow, I keep wanting to say varnish. I wanted to undercoat them at the same time so they'd be roughly similar. Like, that has been my biggest frustration. You know, I, for example, have these two here. They don't look that different, but they're a little different. And the cables were, and I keep saying cable, it is not cable, it is Punisher. They're different, you know, which is fine. They actually came out pretty good considering they were airbrushed at different times. But, you know, that's these two here, the Luke Cages. But they look good. They're not that different from each other, and that's awesome. So I'm going to work on Luke here today. I want to get his base done and then varnish him as well. I need to varnish quite a few things, but I'm going to just try to get everything done that I have on my desk so that I can clear them off. The America Chavez turned out great. So you might be able to see here, it looks like I probably need to put a little bit, I need to put a little bit more varnish like here. You can see a shiny spot maybe. It's fine, but I do not know what I did wrong. I think I didn't shake the contrast paint enough, which is a challenge. Like, how much is enough? And it was super shiny. And the reason why, I'm not certain what was going on here. So I have this bottle of contrast paint that I spilled. And maybe, now that I am seeing this reaction here, maybe it wasn't stirred enough and, you know, shaken enough. And so I lost whatever the matting agent is in this paint. So this is why it doesn't have any, but that's the other part. I still don't quite understand it. This one was shaken up a little bit ago, so you can't really tell, but this is what it should look like. This has not been touched at all, so this should be much lighter, because that's part of the contrast paint pigment, to probably give it the gray and do the little bit of settling, you know, to give it the different shading as it settles on it. So I'm not sure, but it still doesn't quite make 100% sense. Maybe I did shake it. I don't know. I still don't understand, but I'm still using it. It's essentially a wash, but if you look at this one here, this one's shiny. And I think I'm pretty certain I used the one that I'm using as a wash just to get through it. It has some left in it. I don't know how much. And it's fine. The varnish works, although if you, like I was pointing out here, this one here has got that little bit of sheen right there, which is annoying. But if you look at this one, it's actually pretty good. But they were super shiny. Like the blue was ridiculously shiny, and I was really bummed because, I mean, it's a sweatshirt, so a sweater hoodie. And so hopefully that does it and it's better. I noticed that the boots had a little bit of sheen, and that was the red. I still want to do some, this one's definitely not done, even though I varnished it. I'm going to try to freehand the stars, and maybe I'll do that. Hey Mage, Clans, how you doing? Maybe I'll try it on camera. I'm a little nervous. Now, if you notice, her eyes turned out pretty good because I didn't do it on camera. I feel like when I'm doing those things, I have to like get my head in there really close to see everything. And I was pretty happy with these. So, yeah, because I've had some not so great so when I was going through all the miniatures, I was like, oh, I've been doing better on the eyes than I'm recalling. So, you know, part of it is just memory, you know, like not remembering everything I've done on all these things. But yeah, I will put on, I'm actually contemplating, I have to decide. I kind of want to paint the gargoyle that he is on. Broken gargoyle. Look at that's got some problems there. I really did. Getting rid of the mold lines, flash lines, and mold lines, whatever, is kind of critical, and you don't see it necessarily. And I should have shaved it and then painted it, touched it up some gray. Although I didn't end up putting any other color on this besides the wash. But yeah, I'm going to matte this down. As a matter of fact, let's just do that right now. I have the matte varnish. I think I'm going to use the ultra matte because, you know, this is ground, and I will see how it looks. It'll take a little bit of time to dry. As I said last time, because I was varnishing a little bit last week, the issue is I'm when you use the more matte varnishes, they are not as durable. So it's kind of a drag. You have to be cautious about it. And I do want to, I mean, here's the reality. In my case, most of these things are not going to get used that much. We'll play some more. We want to do another Marvel United episode at some point here. And we'll play some of them, probably the newer ones. And, you know, these are first waves, so I don't think we'll play them. And it's kind of a bummer You know, like you don't really get to the stuff as much as you'd like. But I am enjoying doing them, and that was what somebody said on the stream the other day. They're like, well, you know, it's expensive, but you're enjoying what you're doing with them, so you're having fun with them, and it's 100% true. I really do enjoy. I think they're fun minis, and I mean, I think you can see the shine here. Yeah, you can pretty much see it there. So I'm putting on the matte varnish. You will be surprised. This is ultra matte varnish, and it comes out really flat. Now, if I put it on consistently, you shouldn't see any sheen. And you know, dirt is pretty low sheen, so I might even need to put more varnish on the palette. But we filmed yesterday. That was really fun. We had Dave over and another guest and filmed 2 games and had a great time. Really good games. Hopefully one of them will be an episode soon. Somebody asked us when we were streaming on Tuesday where Dave was. Like, well, it's hard to get people over here for, you know, especially the Tuesday morning streams are early. And even though Dave has become more of an early riser, he's not that much of an early riser. Yeah, I don't know that I varnished him. So I'm going to be doing probably some other varnish where I'll mix. It's interesting. So I changed the mix for America Chavez, and it's not still. I'm kind of forgetting what my mix was to get the sheen. Maybe I need to use more. So I did use satin. I used satin and matte varnish, and so to give her the sheen in her hair, right? And it's a little. I mean, maybe it's a little too shiny. I'm not sure. Hey, Chad, how you doing? The best Sheen, Charlie Sheen. When I was young, people told me I looked like Charlie Sheen, which was really weird. I did have short hair, so that would be part of it. That would be part of it. But you know what's funny is they said my dad looked like Michael Douglas. Somebody got mad at him that he wouldn't admit that he was Michael Douglas. And I'm like, I don't think Michael Douglas is as tall as my dad. If they said he looked like Martin Sheen, that would have been more appropriate for the two of us. Chad, did you go to a ReaperCon this weekend? I heard you mention something on a tiny bit about the pirate boom last night, because I really didn't have time to listen. I was trying to get stuff done and go to bed. I had to get the episode ready for today. You did? How was that? I've never been to I have been to a games winning. Yeah. I did go to a games day, a GW games day, but you know, there wasn't really any people painting. I believe it was a single day, maybe 2. But it was cool, and we saw lots of painted minis, but nobody was painting anything on site. But yeah, I would like to. I mean, Chad and Doris have won prizes at painting cons. I just don't have time to necessarily go to that stuff. It would be cool though. Ah, gosh, he really looks good. I do want to. I don't believe I varnished him though. I think I was worrying about doing his eyes, but they're done. That looks good. I mean, you can already see it's dulling down. Varnish is pretty amazing. It was phenomenal. I picked up some games from local publishers. That's awesome. Hey, Funky Fox Gaming. Daredevil's awesome, man. I was very happy with that one. I wish I had the other one going so that I could paint it as well. But yeah, so you can, it's still drying, but you can see it's already matting it, bringing the sheen down a lot. So I'll see where it's at once it completely dries, although that really looks like I didn't paint that or varnish that right there. But you definitely want to do a couple coats of if you're going to do, like, this is an ultra matte varnish, like, and I was really knocked out by how matte it was. Wow, it's drying quickly too on the palette. Let's see here. Even got that 5 o'clock shadow going on. That is what I call, what did I say it was? Superheroes with dirty faces, like the, but it does kind of look like it. He's cool. It's funny, I don't think Daredevil's coming back till next year. And they were saying at D29 that they would start filming again soon. D29, D23. Deborah went to that, which was cool. So I'm gonna do, wow, it really is crazy how quick this dries. So this is a film already on the varnish. I mean, these are all kind of already starting to dry. I painted this a little while ago, some of this stuff. So there you go. I think I did it. Or was it this one? Oh, wow, check it out. This is an ultra matte on top of something with a little bit of sheen. And look at the, I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if we can see it here. I just touched that little bit that was shiny. Now it's very, very matte where the surrounding area is a little bit of shine. So that was because I used a mix of satin and, not satin, I think I used matte varnish and ultra matte varnish on that part. And so there you go. You have problems even matching the flatness. So you kind of have to, hey, Beetlejuice is this weekend. Beetlejuice is this weekend. I hope it's good. I saw some feedback that was questioning it. I hope, because we really love that movie. Yeah, he's cool looking. So, I don't want him to be ultimately too matte, and I don't want him to match the ground. But look at the statue; it's way it's way flatter looking. It's still not dry either. Neat. This, I actually was pretty happy with the undercoating with this. I had done, you know, you can see, right? Like it's darker here. It was all just, so I pump up the faces and anything that's a little bit like his knee and stuff like that, because you want to focus on the face. It's a little dark on the sides maybe. I mean, I have Professor X is really dark on it. I need to probably try to fix that because it's not great. Brian came over, he's like, this is a mistake, right? I'm like, yeah, it's not. He's like, this isn't finished, what he said. I'm like, well, it's done, but I don't think it is. So, now look at this. This is dry. And this is this Basilicanum Gray. Now notice it's not completely mixed. So I didn't do a great job of, this takes a while. Let's actually just mix this up and see how it goes. It takes a while to get all that stuff at the bottom. You really, really have to shake this stuff. Feedback is is what I expected. Beetlejuice never lived to 1, kind of bad critique, but also Beetlejuice story is never great, and it's a fun ride. Well, I'm excited. I mean, I remember being on a date when that movie came out with a girl, and we were both freaking out that it was Michael Keaton, like realizing it was Michael Keaton. It was one of those weird ones where I heard it and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, you recognize his voice. And I I had the same reaction when I went. My brother and I think it was my brother and I went to go see Legend, and I knew that Tim Curry was in the movie, but he's so made up. I had no clue. Wow, that was your which one was the first movie in your theater in the theater Mage Clans? Was it Beetlejuice? But when we saw it, I heard Tim Curry say, "Does it not please you?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's Tim Curry," and that was phenomenal. So there you go. Now it's mixed. So this should be duller, right? Generally these go on with a dull enough, you know, coverage that it doesn't really. If you could go with the raw paint, but don't do that, by the way. Beetlejuice, yeah, it was good. And so definitely put more than one coat on. If you know, contrast paints are super delicate. I've already had, actually it might have been this one. I don't know, one of the ones like hit ears or something like that was where I was touching it a lot, just handling it, and it was like, oh, be careful. This stuff's quite fragile. So you definitely want to varnish it. I suggest maybe going with a satin, although I'll tell you, I put this stuff on here and it was glossy on the hoodie. So, and now it's pretty matte. So you could put on a gloss. I don't know how great it would adhere. And I still I keep threatening to airbrush some of these. Yeah, no kidding, Beetlejuice is very scary. I mean, you know, it's a comedy, but there is some weird stuff in there. It looks like it's not, maybe it's still not quite drying here. It looks a little shiny in there still, but it's ridiculous how much, I mean, this looks like concrete now, or stone, you know, just from drying out. It is really great. The matte is phenomenal. This is, I don't love AK Interactive as much anymore, but their varnish is really phenomenal. And this Ultra Matte is amazing. I mix them, I try to mix them. The crazy thing is this one is way goopier, the matte varnish, than the other. So today I think I was doing 3 parts matte and 2 parts ultra matte, and it still was a little matte. Now, I don't know if you can see it again, that's that part that I just put a little bit of straight ultra matte varnish on it, and you can see it, but it's not that big of a deal. But when I will put another coat on, and I will revarnish the whole thing, and you won't notice any of that stuff. It'll even it all out. One of the things though is I definitely want the leggings to be, I mean, I may even go in and do a little bit of just doing satin on them, even though, you know, like tights and stuff, they have a little bit of sheen to them, but I'm going to try to freehand stars on here. That is what they've painted on the Big Child Creatives. And so if I put enough varnish on there, it'll be easy if I make a mistake to just immediately clean it up. And you know, there's, let me see how many stars there are on the legs there. It's a lot. Hey, Archangelo, thanks. Archangel. There's a lot of stars on her legs. Where is that picture? Oh, is that the right one? I found a great paint job on Reddit. I mean, it wasn't, no, there's quite a few, like 5 or 6 visible stars, and you know, I don't know that I'll have them. Well, I might need to do some on the back of her legs, right on that one. So, and maybe I can conceal this bad mold line cleaning. I love the denim jacket. It looks very gray, but I had done it so that it was like completely faded, and then I went back in with a blue. Wow. Thanks so much for the resubscription, Supreme Candy. Well, it's Supreme Candy, right? Or Candy Supreme, I don't know. Thanks so much for the support. Yeah, I love the denim jacket, and I wanted it to look very, you know, faded. And it turns out pretty good. It's not quite blue enough, but it doesn't matter. You know, denim gets pretty gray looking when it's all washed out. But yeah, even the red line around the star turned out pretty good. I was not 100% satisfied there. Looks like there's a little bit right there that didn't get some red, so maybe I'll touch that up. Again, don't sweat it. Most of this stuff is perfectly fine. But yeah, look at the base. It's super shiny. So I'm going to do a little bit. This might be too matte for that. Look at the ear or whatever that is, like, because it looks like his face fell off. Hey, Funky Fox Gaming, thanks for the follow. But I don't think I put enough varnish. I was running out sort of right in that area, so I might not even got to it. But look how matte this is. It's ridiculously good at bringing the sheen down. Really, really amazing. That varnish is great. And it's not terribly expensive. I think this bottle was like $8 or something, $9. One of them says $9.89. This was from a Burbank Hobbies, which is great. I think you can order from them directly, but it's hard to find this stuff. And I actually found some recently because I don't really need a lot of gloss. I barely use any of it. And I have gloss. I have ancient gloss that I purchased. This is not the gloss. And it's very hard to open this bottle. But this still works great. And I mean, doing gems and things like that, or lenses, this is perfectly fine. But it's forever ago. But this was a tester company. I don't know if Polyscale is still around. I used to buy, I mean, I have one last bottle of one of their metallics that was a pewter, but pewter Schmidt. That was throwing me for a moment. I thought I had no rolls barred video playing somewhere, but it's your background music. Ah, there you go. Well, we all probably use the same stuff. I picked a playlist specifically for painting from a source that we subscribe to called Epidemic Sound, and I have two of them. Yeah, Chad. I'm sorry, I missed that. I'm doing. I'm going to end up doing 3 soon. I'm going to paint Scott's as well. I have a friend that wanted me to paint theirs, and I'm like, I like the idea of the challenge, right? To spend time on trying to duplicate your paint job. I was saying on the stream a while back that I had, when I was in high school and college, I underwent like a weird, crazy idea of like trying to do 2 paintings the same. And I will tell you, it was very hard. Really, really, really hard. I think we have the 2 last ones I did where I actually stopped and never finished it. And I was kind of disappointed because what I was going for was, I'd already been using an airbrush for a while. My parents had given me one quite a few years back before that, and I was like the airbrush guy. Everybody, if they needed a background, I would airbrush it for them and try to show them how to use it. And I still have that airbrush, and I was gonna hand paint like some stuff around it, and I just balked. I was not happy. I was not satisfied with how different. So it was like, you see a map and you see a pen, like a calligraphy type pen, that has a metal nib on it and the ink coming through, and it's drawing a line on like a surface that's showing you the divisions between countries. It's maps, right? So it was like basically 2 opposing like forces rearing up on that line, and it was not going to be. It was basically like, knights or something like that. I don't remember exactly what I was thinking I was going to do there. But I would hand paint all of that stuff and then do the airbrush for the other stuff. And I was disappointed with like so it was a calligraphy pen that had a screw-on cap, and so I did the threads and everything, and I was making everything as close as possible, and it didn't come out, and I was like bummed. I was really bummed. But her hair's not too bad, sheen-wise, shininess-wise. We will stop using sheen. I am a little bummed about the little stars. I might go back and do something to pop them out a little bit more, because if you look at the, we'll see. If you look at, I also feel it's not necessarily worth going crazy on them all, because you can see them, but like they're very gray. Again, I'm doing the light stuff for the face and stuff above, and then a little bit on there. I don't want to put too much of the white undercoating, because then it becomes too white, and you lose the contrast. You don't have the shading underneath. I mean, look how her legs look. I did put a paint over it, one of the contrast paints over it, but they look great. You know, they have the shading and everything, so like it would be from the sun. But these two look good. Her face is a little mottled, which is okay. I'm not certain what's going on there, but I really like them. So I have a little bit of metallic. She's got like studs on her fingerless gloves that I want to put on there. I might paint like some metallic on, oops, you can't see that. I might paint some metallic on the buttons, but you know, I was saying you don't really want to go too crazy on these because then you could just sit there and never move on from your other projects. This is like, in my opinion, plenty great for table play, right? You know, they're pawns, they're moving pawns. It's a card game. So you don't have to go crazy on it. Let's see, it is still shiny on some of this, so I'll go back here and put some more varnish. But I am really impressed with the, I'm pretty certain this did not get enough. You can see there's sheen. It did not get enough varnish, but as I was saying, I was running out because it was drying much quicker. So one of the great things is like, I'm gonna use this same reservoir, the little fidget popper. I'm gonna just peel it off so it doesn't get any dry flakes and stuff, but it comes right out. You know, it's just this little film of it. Well, I think there's a little tiny bit left in there from where it was slightly moister, you know, still not quite completely dry, or different level of dry. But there you go. So put a little more varnish in there. Maybe white light in the center to leave the edges. Yeah, that might be good. That's a good idea. I'm not really certain what's going on with this character, like with all the stars, but that's a good idea. I mean, the other thing I could do is just cover the rest of the miniature with putty. I mean, I have, you know, silly putty kind of stuff that works pretty great on that. And you just cover it up and then come back and just airbrush spots, right? I can do that. I have some very fine airbrushes. That might be good. It might be just enough to do that. I just have to make a decision whether it really matters. It isn't that critical, but I feel like some of them should be a little bit more prominent. There was one I noticed somewhere. I'm like, oh, that's a star. I completely missed it when I was painting stuff. I feel like right in here there's a star somewhere that I missed. But it's a fun mini. I love the hair. It's so great. Really great. This is a neat mini. I mean, they're all great. I actually love the lady's hair. Some of them are just phenomenal. I was very happy with how this one turned out. It's got a little bit much on the sheen, but I love the so I did an undercoating of highlights that let's see if you can see it. I did an undercoating of highlights that I then put the color over it. So I airbrushed it, the different shades, you know, so here's an example. Let me give you, this one's a little overly done, but if you see underneath, now I didn't do a great job with the black. That's my problem about doing stuff outside with bright light. You kind of can't see this stuff, but again, it does not matter. His body is mostly black anyway, so it won't matter. But when I do the undercoating, you get like great shading, and then you just, again, I cheated a little bit some. Like I said, I will focus on their face because I think the face should be pretty clear. And then a little bit of the raised parts. I'm going to be attempting my own paints. Ooh, nice. Foundations of Rome. I have seen some amazing paint jobs on BGG for that. I've been tempted. I actually was almost going to do Scott's because he did not get the Sundrop edition, which, you know, is just basically dipping them, which there's nothing wrong with that. It looks great. But I saw some painted ones and I thought, wow. And the minis are fantastic on that one. Let me see if I can find something else to paint. I have a bunch of stuff I'm excited to try to paint here. I got Yondu. I already painted Scott's Nebula, and it turned out pretty great. So I'm eager to do these two that I'm gonna do. But I just figure, I told Scott, I'm like, look, you're not gonna paint them. Just let me take them and I'll do them. Oof. But I still have quite a few of the first wave to do for my friend, and then I'm gonna have Scott painted a lot I think he's about a third of the way through the minis. And I might fix some of them, you know. I mean, I think he did a good job. They're not, it's again not critical. As I say, they're just movers. Painting some Malifaux. Wow, I have not painted. I painted Malifaux back in the day, and I thought those minis were phenomenal. They were metal back in the day, and there still might be some because that's the easiest way to get minis produced. There are also a lot of 3D printing nowadays, and I am very impressed by how great that stuff can be. So we're going to put a little bit of ultra matte varnish, and then I want to put a little bit of a sheen to it, and then fix the America Chavez bases. Interesting. Oh, I guess it's thin. It's not as thin as I thought. So varnish can mess up your brushes. If you use the varnish cleaner, I mean, I've already cleaned it pretty well. You need to get on it right away. It's not like it's impossible to get varnish off, and you can use alcohol to really get it off, especially if you're using oh, one piece. Wow, okay. Are they metal still though, Mage Clans? Ooh, Universal Monsters. David was doing his Universal Monsters, one of the viewers was doing Universal Monsters from the Horrified. They look pretty good. You know, that's the thing about these that is great for, I mean, I'm not a beginning painter, but I'm not a great painter. The great thing about these is there's a lot of enlarged, the details, right? The faces, I would never paint the eyes on some minis. It's just not worth I'm not a competition level painter. I'm not stressing about it. But these invite me to try, you know what I mean? They're really, really great. And I think it's worth the effort. And I feel like, I was looking at Amazon again the other day, and they were not on, very inexpensive again, on the very first base set of this game was as low as $10 or $12 at one point. But you get 10 minis in those base sets. Each one of them, I think, has 10 minis, including the Spider-Geddon one, which is really, I mean, that's a really good one to get too. It's not as in, I think that's $35, but $35 for 10 minis is not bad, and they're great. The Spider-Man ones are great. I don't think I have any. No, I still have some. Here's the Noir Spider-Man Noir or whatever. I mean, look at that. And this one was literally me just doing the Zenithal highlight and then undercoat, and then coming in and doing some highlights with a paintbrush. You know, I mean, I'm obviously painting a lot of this with paintbrush, but it was very, very simple, and he turns out pretty cool. It's not, I didn't go crazy, but I'm like, why? He looks so cool already. So, you know, that's what I love. I also kind of was very excited about Kingpin. Same situation. And I did do some color highlights on it, but it was just great because his coat, I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to leave his coat white. Just do this as it is with the highlight and see how it goes. And it was great. Wow, it really is. It's insane how much better the finish looks. I was very disappointed. I didn't even notice how shiny it was. And gosh, I just can't believe how great that matte varnish is. I feel like I painted that and I had done that twice trying to, and I just did not have enough varnish. Yeah, this is great. Really, really great. So I probably, now the funny thing is I don't have to do too many coats of varnish on this because I don't usually handle them from the base. I can't even really grab it from the base. You know, it's got that conical shape to it. I just pull the stuff from the top. Man, that is great. Good stuff. Hey, I didn't paint the top of that. You can see it. So I generally go with a more uniform gray kind of thing on the bases because I don't really want it to draw attention away from the miniature itself, the figure itself. But occasionally, like I did do the stripe on, where is it? I just was looking at, oh, it's over here, on Carnage. I saw, like, in their picture they had a yellow stripe. I'm like, oh, I want to try that and see if I can dirty it up and everything. It looks good. But I want it to, I want the focus to be on the miniature itself, so I don't worry about it. But like, hey, hello, Triple JJJ. How's it going in Australia? I hope it's cooler there. I did see there were some warm temperatures for the time of the year. But these are great. But I did do, so there was a street light on one of them, and I've done like grating. There's been like a metal grate on the ground, and I couldn't help it on Ant-Man, right? He's hanging on a quarter, so I had to go crazy with the quarter. But he's not varnished either. I need to do that. Okay, so now time to do a little bit more of a gloss. Let me double check that I got everything I want. I don't think that's done there. And then I'm going to do the next level of sheen. I wonder what that is supposed to be there. Sometimes I do the cables, you know, like conduits or something. I'll put a little bit of metallic on them to write. A little bit of variety in the base is not a bad thing. Did I paint that? I guess I painted that. Gotta let it dry then. So varnishes are not as bad, but definitely the contrast paints, once it starts to dry, do not touch it. Let it just dry before you try to do anything else to it. The greatest thing about these contrast paints is it's actually not too terrible to fix a problem. As long as it wasn't too bad, you can, gosh, I'm so in love with that. I have not done any super ultra matte on the base. I think I'll just put one drop of ultra to the matte. Sunny 30 degrees. That's not so bad. We're at like 42 degrees Celsius, so it is hot here. But supposedly by, let's see, what's today, the 5th? Supposedly by Sunday, it'll cool down, start to cool down. Let's look. Wow, my phone is like doing something there. Okay. I don't know why I'm struggling here. It says 103 and it's 6 in the afternoon. It says it's hotter than that. Tomorrow's going to even be hotter. Oh no, that's today. Today's the peak. So by Monday it'll cool down. And by cool I mean probably 37 or 8 degrees Celsius. I'm adapting for our Southern Hemisphere friends. 70s around 90s next week in Minnesota. See, now that's crazy. Minnesota is, wow, I think I had that open. What a bummer. Minnesota is quite cool and very, very far north for the U.S. We actually had, when we went to Alaska last year on the cruise, it was hot, which was a surprise because I cannot remember. We've been twice. I can't remember if the first one we went to was, I feel it was the same kind of year. It has to be, right? They're open for a specific time frame. And but last year it was really, really hot, like uncomfortably hot. And Scott was frustrated because, like, you know, they put us into buses to make one of the excursions. And there was a, you know, they were just sitting there idling, I think, and it was just hot. And he was frustrated. I'm like, dude, they probably don't even have working AC because normally they don't need it. But once we got moving, it at least cooled down a little bit. So one of the things I worry about when I'm using these, and that's why I'm cleaning the cap right now, I do not want it to clog up the tip too much. I can understand some drying. A gloomy 17 degrees, where are you at, Funky Fox Gaming? 17 degrees Celsius, that sounds not bad. I'm a fall guy. I love fall and spring. I've always been more of a fan of that. I do not know why. Ah, you're in the UK. Yeah, the UK's been having uncomfortable temperatures, and it's part of the issue for them, of course, is they don't have, I just put satin in there. Well, that's what's going to be. The issue is they don't have air conditioning, right? When you don't have AC, any kind of high temperature is not fun. We've always had AC. Well, Nikki and I when we've been together, but I don't love AC. I will tell you that now. I am not a fan. But it is so hot lately, and we did just get solar installed, so it's like, well, might as well just run it because it's not costing us anything, and it's been fine. But gosh, I get dried out, and my skin hates it, and everything. But I wish it would. I really do wish it'd cool down. But what are you going to do? It's what it is. I don't like to go on and on about it because there's nothing that can be done. Just do your best to keep cool. But like, it's warm in here. The AC is having a heck of a time keeping up. As this space is insulated, but it's just not great. And I don't even think the house has got that great of insulation. You know, I mean, California didn't really have too crazy hot of time frames. You know, I mean, it was occasionally, and it's still sort of that way. You kind of get maybe 2 or 3 weeks out of the year that it's pretty unbearable, maybe a month. And it's, you know, there's no reason to complain because poor folks like in Arizona have been dealing with crazy hot temperatures in the hundreds for like 80 days or something like that. Hopefully it's cooler for them right now. I do not know. But, well, let's see how this goes. I sadly put a little bit too much satin in there. Maybe, but I can always do another coat. Doesn't hurt. Am I missing? Oh, I'm sorry, Triple JJJ. I'm actually streaming on both YouTube and Twitch. So you're on YouTube, which is great because many people do not know that we run on Twitch. We've been doing Twitch since early 2020. We've used Twitch for a long time, but we did do GameNight live with Deborah and Aaron when we did a puzzle game called Wilson Wolf Affair. And then we continued once the pandemic started. We're like, what else do we have to do? And we were only on Twitch, and they didn't want you to do it on YouTube. But the frustration we now put in our videos, we put little pop-ups, you know, hey, look at our schedule, live stream schedule and others. But I'm super happy because we got a lot of folks from around the globe and stuff not knowing that we do this and seeing us on YouTube. So we are on both, and it's a little confusing. Let's see here. Tragedy65 said, Dice Tower made the comment that Marvel United is harder to paint than standard miniatures. What are they talking about? I am 100%, I believe this is the way to start painting minis. Yes, there's larger surfaces. Now, I'm running a method that I think is easy. I am a semi-experienced painter, but what I'm doing, I'll show you. Let me pick a better mini that I've got painted. I do this every time, but it's cool. I actually want people to know how. I do not know what this, oops, I just dropped it. I had one break. I had an Iron Man break. It was a real bummer. Like, I fixed it, but it was a downer. So she's a little extra painted because I wanted her face and her hair. But what I do is I paint this miniature black, entirely black, and I'm doing it via airbrush. You don't have to. This one was, I believe the whole thing, well, her face is, I have not finished it. This one was just painted black, and then I dry brushed highlights. So you can do this without an airbrush, but I will tell you, I think the airbrush is a great way to do this, and I love the smooth gradients that you get. I also love the dry brush one. I have a couple minis that I think are amazing. I did an Iron Man. Is this him? I don't know. Is this the one that was pinned? Yeah, I guess this is the one. So this is the one I dropped and it broke. So it didn't work exactly like I had hoped, but I dry brushed it with metallics and the base, you know. Wow, I thought that one had been put away. I think that's correct. I might have done something else. Anyway, oh, I know what I think this one was airbrushed. Airbrushed metallics trying to do a zenithal highlight. It's okay. But then you do you can just do it with white, next step white, and you do it from the top, directly from the top. But I do 45 degree with a gray primer all the way around, not going underneath. You want the bottom to stay dark. And then you do white from the top. So it's a few steps. If you're doing dry brushing, I don't know if you know what dry brushing is, but dry brushing, you draw down. So you paint the whole thing black, and then let me just fake it with this brush. I would not use this brush to dry brush. You just draw it down. I got too many things that are shiny down below here. And you just keep building it up lightly. The way you get it, when you dry brush, you put a tiny bit of paint on it, and then you basically wipe all the paint off until you just keep brushing it to thin it out. Hey, thanks for the follow, Berry Drops X3. And you dry brush, pulling down, building up the highlights on the top end of it, and then you just use these contrast paints directly over it. And so what I do mostly nowadays, it's not always consistent, but what I mostly do is I will, with contrast paints, I use the main paint. So for example, I'll pick the color, and then I will put the contrast medium, right? Contrast medium is basically it's called a medium. It's the stuff that holds all the pigment together. And when you use the contrast medium, you reduce the intensity of the color, but you do not change the color. So it gets light. It can be lighter, and then that way I can build up to it because I'm not worried about shading. I'm just going to put that varnish. I'm going to just put that color on top of it, and then let the shading underneath. Because most of these paints, I mean, all of them are generally translucent, slightly transparent. Excuse me. Tragedy most pin lighting. So they had made some. Can you do those steps with a spray can? If you can, absolutely do it with Tragedy 65 with a spray can. Let's see, what else are they mentioning? Stop watching because how toxic it is. Oh wait, that's another comment. Wow, there's a bunch of chats here. I'm sorry guys. Let me catch you up here. So they asked about it. I said something about straight lines. Huh? I don't usually catch your live stuff due to the time difference. Yeah, I totally understand. So, all our stuff is actually, well, you can't ask me questions, but you can. You can always write in the chat, and I'll answer questions about all this stuff. I don't need to mention drama, but Dicestar went from loving Marvel to hating it. Huh, I think it's all to the anti-chibi crowd. I understand that, but I love the chibi stuff. Can you do these steps with a spray can? You can absolutely do it with a spray can. Scott did his mini. I painted a Nebula, one of his, when we were house sitting for him. I used, he had spray can it. It's pretty good. I honestly feel, well, I'll explain that all in a minute. We'll get through it. Let me finish the comments here. That's a thing called pin lining. Most people don't, but don't blackline. Okay, really, I've heard a few of them mention loving it, being excited for it in the last few weeks. Well, yeah, that's true. There is a new version of it out, and I know that some think it's great, but part of the whole thing is like people like to talk about stuff and get people either excited in one way or the other, and that's we're not really about hyperbole on BGG, and mostly excited about it all. So I was saying, I've got this on many videos. You can go back and look, but what I did is so you do that with the black, and rattle can works. Rattle can's not terribly expensive, but good rattle cans, which is what you really should use, are about $20, and a few of those will increase your costs. So it'll go crazy. So last week I think I actually they've changed the name of this again. It's exactly because I went and looked at the one that I purchased. This is a compressor, and you recharge it, so it doesn't need to be plugged in. It's got a hose. I put an adapter, a quick release adapter. You do not need stuff like this unless you are using multiple airbrushes. Although it's nice just to make it easy to take the airbrush off and clean it, but it makes it more cumbersome. This one's huge. This one is a, gosh, what company was that? Grex. This is Grex's quick adapter, quick disconnect adapter. This one is the Badger one. Now, the way this works is they gave me an adapter. So Badger has tinier connections than most everybody, but the regular part will fit the standard airbrushes and stuff. That's what this connector is here. So they gave me an adapter to do that, but so it makes it bigger ultimately. If I use this on the other cable, other hose, it'd have been fine. But this is much smaller, much lighter. It's great. You can buy the airbrush, and it's a basic airbrush and this compressor. It was $55 last week, plus an additional 10% off if you click the coupon. So under $50 to get this compressor and an airbrush, and you can begin priming minis yourself this way and super smooth. Now, you got to know that you want to paint minis to start spending any kind of money. And better airbrushes are definitely the way to go. But for this, I can continue. I still use this compressor. I mean, I've been using airbrushes forever, and I've always had nice airbrushes for the most part. But I've been buying some inexpensive ones. You can keep using this compressor with other stuff. It works great. I love it because I can go outside and not make a mess, right? I can just go out there and airbrush. Now, I'll show you a little bit better airbrush. Well, this is a lot better. Let me show you the other one. I put it away. I always do this, but it's good for people. I want people to do this. It's not hard to do, and I think you can get great results with not just Marvel United. I think Marvel United's great, but this is the airbrush that came with this kit. It gave me that hose that you saw, the black hose. This airbrush is not bad. It breaks down, so it's terrifying. Airbrushes are kind of scary, but if you just immediately rinse, you won't have, like, go watch Vincent Venturella, and he talked about his situation. He might have talked about the airbrush and what the issues he's having, but he doesn't clean his airbrushes a lot. He doesn't break them down to clean them. He just runs water with a bottle like this through the airbrush. Vincent Venturella is great. If you want to know anything about painting minis, the guy is amazing. He's got hundreds of videos. He now runs a Patreon, which is worth supporting. Anyway, he doesn't even really break it down to clean. He just runs fluid through it. He runs fluid, then airbrush cleaner, and maybe some thinner. I don't know. I'm very particular about cleaning my airbrushes. I've been doing it forever, and I only had one for the longest time. I buy a lot of airbrushes now because I want to see if they're a good deal for people to... I don't need any more airbrushes. And I keep telling myself, there's a brand new version of the Harder and Steenbeck, which I only got mine a few years ago. The high-end one, the Infinity. They just announced it at Nova Open that the new ones... I mean, we knew it was coming because I actually bought the Squidmar one of the basic one, which is very nice, about 100 and something, pretty low price range, because they have another one called the Evolution, which I think is $165 like on Amazon, which is not cheap, but if you would graduate to that, it works pretty awesome. Now, this is a ridiculous airbrush. I just wanted to have one because I wanted to support Squidmar, even though I don't really watch them as much anymore. I just don't have time, but I was like, I would like to try to get one with the interesting engraving. It's like etched. And black and gold is silly, but it's fun. But I will tell you about this other one. So this other one, I think I paid, it was on special, and it was $85. This is a very nice airbrush. This is a new company called Gallery, Gaahleri. And Mage Clans is talking about Marvel United, a DC fan. But at DC United, I foolishly backed it all, and we'll get it all soon, in a year from now or so. This, or maybe a year and 4 months, because I think that's what they ultimately ended up being on this last one. This one does, so it removes, you can remove the cup. You can also just pour paint. Just one of the things I've done when I was doing art stuff, especially, I would just put paint on the brush and then just pour it into the little reservoir here, and then you can airbrush directly on. And there's cups. That's one of the things that, so you can protect your, this is a Teflon washer in here to help prevent leaking, air. You don't want air getting in there. Although it's sucking the paint through, but I think if you have too much leakage, it causes your airbrush to get spotty. Anyway, so it makes it easy to clean. The tops are fantastic. These are friction fit, which I think, yeah, this is friction fit. I don't love friction fit. This one is actually threaded. My problem is friction fit. I tend to like jerk the thing too much when I pull the lid off or whatever. But you don't have to worry about threads if you have friction fit. They also really polish the cup on these, so they clean really easily, I feel. Now, this one's actually probably cheaper now. They've introduced some other airbrushes. This was like their second one maybe, and they actually have a lower priced, because this is a GHAC 98 dual. I think there's a slightly lower, like the cup isn't as polished, but it's like $40. So you could always migrate up to this. And the reason why I say these guys are serious is they're, at least at the time of when I got this in a few months back, they are making parts for this airbrush. They're selling them branded. It means you can get things, because it's easy to foul things up if you're not careful. And you don't have to be super careful. That's one reason why I think this is a great way to start. I had one manufacturer that I talked to and I talked to him at Gen Con last year. He's like, don't recommend the Chinese airbrushes. I'm like, I agree. It's good to buy a good one. I've always had good airbrushes. Particularly, I've had his brand since I was a little kid. But I also feel, get something that'll, I mean, I actually bought one of the airbrushes from Harbor Freight when it was probably my 7th or 8th airbrush. Believe me, I have too many airbrushes. And I immediately dropped it. Like, really dumb. But I was excited to try, because I actually wanted to paint varnish. And I did a double whammy. I painted the varnish. I only did it for a second without having a respirator, which you must have. Unless you have, I have behind me a spray booth that pulls the air through. And you could go without a mask, although I wear a mask. But if you're outside, you don't have to be so concerned about it. But immediately, within 30 seconds, I was all of a sudden having trouble breathing from the vaporized, atomized varnish. And so you got to be real careful. But anyway, I think that in all that funkiness, I dropped it. I don't think it was from that. I think when I tried to clean it, because you also have to clean varnish quickly. And so maybe an airbrush like this would be good. Hey, Zuraleth, thanks for the follow. If you, having one of these is also good because you can use it to undercoat, right? You don't have to worry about detail. Although you can paint detail with just about any airbrush. You just reduce the amount of pressure, get your nozzle closer to what you're painting, and you can do hairline. There's a great YouTube channel where the guy is an airbrush artist, where he paints portraits and landscapes. And I think it's called The Art. Oh man. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. He gives you reviews and explains techniques. It's been great because I've actually watched him on just talking about the oh man, I just realized I didn't send something I need to send. But he's great at explaining like techniques, and he also reviews lots of airbrushes. He's realized it's a good business model for him to look at that stuff. And he's like me, he buys them, doesn't necessarily get them sent to him. The art workshop. Let me see YouTube. That's not YouTube. That's BGG. I haven't watched one of his videos for a while. He does a lot now, and I just haven't had time. And I don't want to get excited about any more airbrushes, to be frank with you. I don't think that's his name. Oh no, there it is. The Art Workshop. So here he's talking about Badger Renegade Chrome. But he's great. He tells you a lot. I think he's very fair. He tries to paint like hairline paint, and it turns out great. Hey, there you are, Triple J. There you are. What did you delete the message on the other one on YouTube? I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. If you go on Warhammer Channel on Twitch, there's a ton of streamers that airbrush. Yeah, there's tons, and I think it's great. I would love. So I've tried to airbrush on stream. It's kind of I have a booth next to me. It's super noisy. I did do some airbrushing with this. With the other. I have another compressor at my feet that are near my side over here. That is a huge tank and it's quiet. I could try. I did paint, I think I painted some of, now that was just, I did not have a booth, and my concern is like the cameras around me and stuff like that. But there are people that do it, and definitely just give it a watch. It's not worth being afraid of it. And like I say, for $60, probably including tax, you can get a okay airbrush, decent airbrush, and a compressor that does a great job. And then if you really love it and you continue to use it, and now I haven't had any problem with this yet. I'm sure they don't last forever. There are versions of this that have replaceable batteries. This does not. I might be able to open it up. I think it's got like 4, like sort of like AA cell type batteries, maybe 2 of the larger lithium ions. I don't know. But you can really do a lot, and it will make your life a lot easier. So you'll get this, and then you just have to have reasonably pointed brushes to paint this. You don't want to use too great of brushes, because minis, you're using a brush in a manner that is not correct for brushes. That's why I have sable brushes, but I mostly use Golden Taklon, or what are these called? It doesn't say. These are Saks. I bought one of these as well to try it, exactly the same size as one of the other ones. I bought these Saks ones because I think it was Adam was talking about it, Adam Smasher on Tabletop Minions, but his friend Sam Lenz was using these. I don't know that he still does, but I think they had a talk where they were talking about this stuff. And Adam might use, I mean, he has sable, but his brushes from, because he has a set of brushes from Monument Hobbies that are synthetic as well. So this one's actually probably not a great one. I barely use one too, but you can just use it very lightly on here and paint this with this brush. Like, I actually have been buying I think they're up there. I've been buying very inexpensive ones they're called Royal and Langnickel. That's these. And you get 144 brushes for as little as $26. And some of them are great. The 2's okay. The 1 is the one I like the least. Where's that at? They're just not, this one's okay, but they don't, some of them are just not manufacturable. Let me see if I can pull the can out, you can see. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to get going. If I go spray can white highlights top down, is there a better paint brand that has good spray nozzles? Well, I have, and I've used, and I was quite impressed, even though people complain. This is a good, I mean, my feeling is when you're first doing it with Rattle Can, go ahead and spend the money to just see what you can get. The end result with this paint, I felt the nozzle was better than, a lot of people use Rust-Oleum. And it's great stuff. I've used it for black, and I'm not worried about, black is just going to be black. It's not a big deal. But spend a little bit more for your second coat. You can buy the Rust-Oleum for the black, and then maybe buy the more expensive one for the, you won't use as much of this for the Zenithal stuff. And it's weird. I mean, I understand why Games Workshop doesn't really talk about doing this kind of painting method, but I feel you can get really great results really quickly. And with any of these methods, as a matter of fact, you could just start with dry brushing and see how it goes and see if you like it. Yeah, I use Mage Clan's saying I use GW cans for a long time. I will tell you now, paints last you forever, but these are the Royal Langnickel Golden Taklon round brushes. So you can see how the points are pretty great until you get to these 2s, or the 1s, and the 1s are just not great. And that's fine. I actually prefer longer bristles. It is one thing that I have, back in the day, that's how I painted, but now I've even noticed that a long while back, that you want larger brushes to hold paint. It doesn't dry out as quickly because you have more what they call the belly of the brush holding paint. And I've seen some great work. I think Ninja did a video a few weeks back where he was doing blending within the brush. So he had like purple in the belly maybe, or blue in the belly, and then he put purple, and he was doing blending on the miniature. Now that's traditional style, you know, using regular acrylics. I'm using just contrast paint, so you don't need to. I've done that. I did this here where I basically blended this in a wet blending technique quickly on the Mini. And that's what's one of the cool things about contrast paints is they actually do a pretty great job staying wet for a little while, but then they dry fast. But they're very fluid initially, and that's because the nature is to settle into the stuff. But I started with the brown. This was Wildwood, and then I used Ioned Yellow, and then I used Plague Bearer Flesh, and mix them all together to have that do a transition on there. I did the same thing here where this was Aethermatic Blue, and then I used the contrast medium. Underneath I used, so I painted that miniature with this paint. I brought this home, but I didn't bring the rattle can because I did it in Dallas. I didn't want to put it on the plane, but I used Gray Seer under coating for this, and it was all just that color. But it particularly works on these minis because there's a lot of organic recesses and stuff that make the paint work great. So I did the gray, and then I used just the contrast medium and mixed it with the blue, and I got these kind of cool non-metallic metal kind of transitions, and it turned out great. So there's a lot of methods to get really nice results. And if you go that route where you just do one color underneath, like this is, it's going to be pretty good. I feel, particularly on smooth surfaces, this is where I think people might have a problem painting these minis. Like I said, one of these was a little bit more, I felt, I like this one a little bit more than this one, but they're both great, but this one has like some modeling problems. But I feel I went too dark on this paint. I crept up on the shade here by using the Gilliman Flesh, which I keep telling everybody how fantastic this stuff is. This is the GW Contrast Flesh color for, like, you know, human colors. This color was this Mini here. It's used. I'm using contrast medium, thinning it down. It's oops, just knocked that down. What were we talking about? Oh, Daredevil. That's the same tone. I don't have the others out, Shuri and stuff like that, but this is the same tone. This is just less. I did creep up on this one as well because he's got a big bald head, so I was trying to make it as smooth as I could, and I modeled it to fix it as, you know, by touching it with different colors around there. This one actually looks a little bit better, sort of. And then Blade, this is the same color as well. All of these flesh tones are the same, and they have lasted me forever. I have used this paint now for 5 years, and I have painted a lot of faces, and these are all that same bottle of paint. So they cost $8 about, but it's probably worth it. Now, speed paints, I always show this one because it was the one I wanted to get. These are like $4 or something, maybe $4 or something. Same amount of paint. These are pretty great too. And so these are going to last you forever as well. It's the same amount of paint. Just choose the one that you want to try. I love this flesh tone. I absolutely love it. It is truly amazing. And the fact that just mixing the medium, and it's funny, so I've told the story. I went to the store and I was like, man, I really don't like their flesh tone. I don't get it. And then you see the display and they show a transition of the color from light to dark. And I'm like, oh, duh, they're using medium. And I already had the technical medium because I had bought it. I had this, oh, you know, this is the second bottle. Let's see if the other bottle has a sticker on it still. No, it does not. The other bottle I left open, so it dried and it's not as great. So I use it for some other things. Not that long, but it was enough, like 3 days or 2 days. It was open a little bit, and it was kind of a problem. Anyway, so you can get great results without going crazy anyway. You could do just like I said. You can just go for the whole white thing, or the gray. I like the gray, but I have that white, and just try it. Contrast paints are fantastic because I did this miniature in about an hour and a half. I have more of them in the house, and I think I painted more because I think we did these like the last day or so we were in Dallas. And I was trying to get Scott interested in it. He did go paint with me during the pandemic, but this was in 2019 after Gen Con. But I have, the only paints I've rebought are the ones, the contrast medium, which I was getting low. Actually, I think this is my third bottle of technical contrast medium. I bought another bottle of this because I spilled it, but it didn't ruin that one, and I just used it up, even though I lost some of it because I was on a Discord paint with some friends. And then I spilled this one, like I said earlier, the silicon gray, that somehow it just ruined it. So I still can use it as a shade, but the straight one is way better, the standard one. And it's holding it's mixed up well. My biggest problem with these bottles, this is the thing I will say now. I love their paints. I cannot stand these lids. What happens is I'm having a problem with one of my paints, maybe that Gilliman Flesh, where this is dried in here and it's not sealed well. And so what I have to go in is peel it out. You know, I pop open the lid and then just scrape the paint out of here, and I just cannot stand it. If you go with the other bottles, they have dropper tops. They give you mixing balls inside the paint. They put 2 inside each bottle. I've been adding these glass ones from, these are from laboratory grade glass from Monument Hobbies. They use larger, I have some bottles somewhere. They use larger glass bottles in there because they put them inside here. So there's a glass bottle in here. And I've only seen one. I've not used any of their paint up yet either. And I will pull the ball out and keep it because they're great. Glass is awesome, but I also don't mind the stainless steel as long as they don't corrode. And that's the point of stainless steel. But I have some empty bottles of these, and they have clear glass, and they're quite a bit bigger. So the one thing that's bad about this, even though this is great, you're not going to spill it very easily because it's a tiny dropper bottle, right? Number one, make sure that this is not plugged when you go to squeeze them out. Number two, just be cautious of the bearings. If they get stuck if you're not getting paint, so what I do is I use this paper clip, and I poke it in to make sure it's clear, and then I start to pour some out into the palette. If there is any resistance, something's not right, and you can get it to squirt. It can actually pop. I have not had that happen, but it can pop this cap off, and you just spill paint everywhere. So you have to be careful about that. But you're definitely less likely to spill stuff, especially if you're cautious and you won't have that burst. I did have one the other day that I pulled out a blue that I'd never used, and it squirted out a bunch of paint. It wasn't too much, but it was like, oh, well, that's a bummer. And I'm like, I forgot. It was a brand new bottle, but I forgot to make sure that the nozzle was clear. But yeah, you can do any of that, any method. I just love the shading of these when it's undercoated. Dry brushing undercoating will do it as well. And then so the one thing I'll say about these, these are comic books. So if you were to go for the whole paint job just being white, they're gonna have bright colors, and that's probably pretty, some people would prefer it. I like the darker stuff, but whatever. It's just personal preference. You do what you want. One of the things I will say, I don't stress the color. I don't know Marvel that well, and you're kind of matching a predetermined look for these guys. So I just follow the paint jobs as closely as I can that Big Child Creatives do, because they're using the IP, so they're doing it right. And then I don't have to worry about it. I just immediately start painting, and I have a goal, and it gets done. I've done this mini twice, and I have a little bit more stuff going on with the second one than I did the first one. I actually did paint. I intended to paint the eyes underneath the visor, even though they're painted on top, and it turned out cool, right? This is all just you get a little bit better, and your skills improve, and I feel you can get painted, especially because we all have games that have miniatures in them that aren't painted. Age of Sigmar trees. I love those, man. I am surprised at how great these minis are. What are they called? Sylvaneth, maybe, is that right? But they're great. They look so cool, and tiny faces, but it still looks great. I didn't, for example, like I said earlier, I don't paint eyes. I didn't bother with this. He looks great. You're not going to notice that. I did paint the eyes on this guy who's giving us the finger because his finger broke. They're okay. They're not great. but I really like these. Here, let's see, did I paint any eyes on these? Nope, I don't think so. Oh, maybe I did. But you can't see it. I mean, it's so tiny. You know, if you're a competition painter, yeah, you got to go for that stuff. I am not a competition painter. But I think you can get great results. I did 2 of these in basically 2.5 hours, maybe. They're not done yet, but they'll be done. So there you go. There's satin. It's dried. It looks pretty good. That'll probably be fine. I might do a little bit of matte, ultra matte on top of that. So that was satin with ultra matte. So it gave us a little bit more sheen. And it probably is close to the same amount of sheen as using the matte. Let's actually just do that right now. Let's try some of the matte. Yep, there you go, Sylvaneth. Well, if you're Tragedy 65, you can get, if you keep your eye on Amazon, if you don't have any Marvel United, you can get the base game for as little as about $15. It's been even cheaper than that. And you get 10 minis, and it's, you know, Ultraman, it's not Ultraman, it's Ultron, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, Wasp, Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Taskmaster, which was a weird one, Black Widow. I'm sure there's more. And you can just get started. I mean, it's an inexpensive game. And then the other thing is don't be afraid of making a mistake. Number one, you can actually clean your minis. If you really did a terrible job, and I got to tell you, I wouldn't sweat it. But I bought this totally awesome. That was, yeah, there's cheap sales on Amazon all the time. And you know, now they got new ones coming into the pipeline again because they did a new print run. So this is totally awesome. I've only ever used it straight, but I think you should thin it. There's a recommendation of thinning level, but if you do it just straight, it'll do it overnight for sure. You get the mini out, and then you just brush with a toothbrush, and it'll take off all the paint if you're using acrylics, and you can repaint it if you really are unhappy. But I also feel don't bother. I can't find my earliest miniatures. I used to do World War II stuff that my parents gave me, but this is an early one. And you know, it's not great. You can see I've touched it a lot. It rubbed off the copper. This was shining gold, I think, back in the day. But this is cool. You know, it's not the greatest paint job, but I did a bunch of these. But he looks good, and he'd look good on the table. It doesn't have any shading. I didn't do zenithal highlighting back then. I do think I primed black, which, gosh dang it, I got to tell you, I don't know about. Especially if you're, you know, I'm saying paint it black, but I also feel bumping it up. I'm surprised that, I know why the Games Workshop probably doesn't tell you to do the undercoating, is you have another layer of stuff. They don't sell airbrushes. You can do it with a rattle can, but they're trying to get you there the easiest method. There's a great interview on the painting phase with one of the guys. So it was Peachy, but he's interviewing one of the guys from Games Workshop that developed a lot of great products. And he was one of the team that did the contrast paints. And he was talking about this hobby funnel where it's trying to get you in. The large funnel to get you started and then keep tapering you in till you get, you know, people get better and move on, you know, advance. So is this right? I did do that one. Yep. So let's try where's the brush I was using? Here it is. Wow, it's dry already. Holy cow, it is very, very warm here. But yeah, I got to tell you, even at $25, well, let me look. Let me see what it says on Amazon for Marvel United. I think I looked yesterday. I'm always looking. I don't need any more. But even at $25 or $35, it's worth it. But oh wow, so they have a deal where you can get, I bought this. This is the one deal I bought. It includes 2 sets. And you can save 30% with this coupon. $50, you get Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse. So that's like 6 miniatures. I have a fantastically painted Green Goblin. I was super happy with that. Plus a Doctor Strange. So it's 10 minis plus 6 plus 1. So it's like 17 minis for $49 minus 30% off on the coupon. That's a great deal. Yeah, see right now Marvel United is $33.42. That's a little high, but it's still worth it. Oh, see, this is not. They're probably out of stock at Amazon, but this one's great. I mean, this is a really cool deal. So another 30% off is $15 off, right? So you would get this for the same price as this, and you get a full other set, right? You get the same price as this one, you get a full other set, and an extra mini. It's great. Wow, the Marvel United neoprene mats are $30. Wow. Is that the, which one is that? Is that the new one? Yeah, I have 2 of them. I did not buy the first one because I thought it'd be too big. Then I saw Scott's and I'm like, oh, I want this. I'm happy that they're sort of available. Oh, wow. So this is the new one, $30. It does not have spaces for the cards, but it makes the mat smaller, and I think it's stitched, but you just lay the cards on this edge, and then they're easy to pick up. And I love the purple. Did I back this one? I don't think I did. I think I bought the new one. I'm a crazy person for DC. You can use this mat with DC and Heroes United, so it's crazy. Anyway, really cool. I really love the game. The playmat actually does improve the game. It just is nice. It's a nice quality of life upgrade, essentially. But anyway, yeah. So you can get started on this stuff and not have to spend a ton of money, and and these are fun to paint. I mean, you could paint. Stacy Everdell, one of the people that watches, she was painting her mechs from Scythe. She just wanted to do it. She started doing it. She was telling me about it, that it turned out pretty good. And that's all you do. You just get started with something. I just happen to really have fun painting these minis. Number one, they're very distinctive. They have lots of really fun details. And they're the same, the people that do the paint job are the same people that design these. It's Brazilian folks, Big Child Creatives. They're great. They also have busts and stuff like that. Zambies came on, I think it was Zambies, was saying she had painted it was Zambies, a Big Child Creative bust. I would love to do a bust. She's like, you really should. It improves your skills. But then I mean, if I'm going to paint traditionally with standard acrylics. But I will tell you, I feel I'm actually excited to try. I still haven't bought any, but of the Army Painter War Paints Fanatic, which is the same size bottles as these. I will tell you, that's kind of a big deal, because these are 12 milliliters. These are the GW ones. They're not terribly expensive, but it's 2/3 of the paint of the other bottles. I don't have any of the new ones, but like, that is where I think that they kind of fall down, GW. Where this is okay, $8 is fine for this. It is close to twice the cost of the other ones. And the one other great thing about Army Painter is they have more sets for people that get started. Now, I would never spend too much on a full set. You don't know that you're going to need them all, and you pretty much won't. Particularly with the new ones, the War Paints Fanatic, even though it's an amazing set, it's like $760, which you can't even get it anymore. I think that Adam Smasher was saying that that was a limited time thing, and which is a bummer, but there is like a new set coming that's 102. It's still like $300 something. I really feel you buy one of those small sets. They have like 11 bottles and 22 bottles. Get one of those, not cheap, $40 to $80, $90. And then just buy the paint you need from there. Don't go crazy. Even though it's enticing, and there are some paint sets from GW, but I don't think they do I don't think they do contrast paints in sets. You know, just to get you started and save a little bit of money, I think that that's only fair. But anyway, we'll let that dry, see how that turns out. That's the, I think that's the matte varnish, not the ultra matte. I know it's not the ultra matte. So there you go, it's drying. So I want to compare these two. I'm not going to do anything to this. This was mixing satin with ultra matte. I'm probably going to get the same thing here. Let's look back at Daredevil. Wow, see, look how great that is. All of those parts that were not completely matte are now completely matte, and that looks amazing. So this when I airbrush this, you can probably see there was a little bit more speckling. I didn't have the air to paint. You know, I didn't have maybe the right thinning for the paint. Because, you know, I'm using standard acrylics for this type stuff, for the varnish, the undercoating. And so the white highlight was a little too speckly. Now, it's fine. That ended up looking really good on the stone there. And I did it on like I think I did a version, or maybe Scott did it, of Red Skull. Oh, I'm going to show you here though. Paint the primers. So this is one I've had for years now. I'm not kidding. This bottle is, I think I looked at it the other day. It's maybe 1/5 of the bottle used. Years of using black undercoating. Years. You do not need to buy 16-ounce bottles. It will last you a while. It's not bad though. I think this was like $20-something. And it's good to have it, but the stuff will last a long time. So that's why that's why I'm a big fan of the airbrushing technique, or the just hand. As a matter of fact, when I did this, I hand painted this with that black, which you can use it. You don't have to use it there in airbrush. Then I dry brushed. But you can see like her hair has a different kind of highlight. The pouches have a different, you know, that was me brushing it. I didn't do any white lining or anything like that. All of these things, like I might have painted white, just straight white on the Black Widow symbol there. I mean, they're all cool. I've done 3 of these. I don't remember the other one. I really like this one, but I don't think this is the first one. But Scott gave me another set, so I have another Marvel United set that is that I was going to do all of them dry brush. I've only done Iron Man and Black Widow so far, but I would like to continue with that. I'm like making a real effort to get to everything through. There was a 200 set at my LGS came with a paint holder. Yeah, that's the, it has a tray. That's the 50 bottles of paint. That's the, now, if you're going to paint standard, definitely, you know, there's good acrylics. Here's the really great thing. All the acrylics are getting better. The level the bar keeps raising between all these manufacturers, and they get great results. So, you don't have to, now I still feel you should buy miniature paints. Back in the day when I didn't even know of primers, I used to use like Deco Arts bottles of paint, which I don't even know if I have much of that stuff anymore, that you could get at Michael's as the undercoating. I used that as the undercoat paint. I did buy GW paints back then, and like I said, Polyscale, and I bought these nitro bottles, which are made by HGM, or is it HGM? I keep saying the name, I don't know why I can't remember. Well, this one does it too. These are the same ones. HMG, there we go, that's why it didn't sound right. These are the folks that used to make the paints for GW. They made them for GW, then some other company did them in France, which I was a very big fan of those metallics. Then they came back to HMG, and now I think they've taken all the paints in-house. But they're fine, you know, but again, you don't have to spend a lot. If you're really in, and you think you're gonna do it, then maybe go for one of the larger sets. But I have thought about that 50 paint set, but you know what? The reality is I don't have room for it. So I'm not gonna buy, I have to figure it out. I have to figure out where I'm gonna put, I want to get some of those paints. I wanna try them. Wow, look at that, dry. So it's not completely dry, but it's dry. Peels right off of there. I love these things. This works great. Fidget poppers. I did buy one at like the Dollar Tree that was part of like a little notepad. I haven't used this yet, but I think this will be perfectly fine. I did, as I pointed out recently on the stream, this one here somehow, for some reason, has starting to break down. So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if that was like a manufacturing error and I didn't notice it, or maybe me cleaning it or something. I was a little too aggressive. But yeah, it's great. Golden so flat. So golden is great. Don't chuckle. I use these. What do they call it? High flow acrylics. These were around before contrast paints. It's not exactly like a contrast paint, but it's kind of, and these are great. Now, you're gonna pay good money for these. I'm not really certain what pigments they use, but they use real pigments on some of these colors. So some of the colors are very expensive, like any kind of the blues, you know, the cobalt. I mean, I can't even remember the types, but I think golden paints are great. I really like the hobby paints, but you know, golden is an artist paint, so those are going to be good. There's a great guy who streams here on Twitch, Wapelius. He paints with oil paints, and I've seen him do full minis in a stream with all the shading, like phenomenal shading, and doing fluorescence with his own mixed fluorescence with fluorescent pigment and oils, you know, linseed oil and stuff like that. It's amazing. So there's lots of ways to get where you want to go. I just feel, just to get started, you should go for it. Figure out what works. So this looks like it's getting pretty dry. So let's compare the sheen. I think this is shinier. This was the matte versus ultra matte. Yeah, look at that. So it's different. This was matte plus satin. I think that's what I mostly have done before. And I kind of think that's the right sheen level for the most part. I'll put a coat of whatever on this on the other one, but it's awesome. You can do great stuff quickly. Let me get back to doing Daredevil. I'm not certain I have everything the way I want it. I think I'm just going to use the matte. Because, you know, he's got like fabric on. Fabric has a sheen. Leather has a sheen. Let's move that out of the shot because it focuses on that. Come on. Yeah, you can really get going. You don't have to spend a lot of money. I really don't think you should. You should just get into it and figure out what works. And then spend a little bit more as you go along, you know. You don't have to do the airbrush thing. I'm really very happy with it. I am not afraid. You can write me on the comments or on BGG, and I can give you any kind of advice. I think if you think you're going to paint a lot of miniatures, it's a great way to go. It's very inexpensive. You get really consistent results. And I don't sweat it too much if I do a little bit too much highlighting. I feel I did too much highlighting on this one here. So that's okay. It'll be fine. It'll look good. He's mostly dark, so it won't really matter. Man, that is a really good deal. I don't need that set. I think that's what Nick Murphy bought, was that set with Doctor Strange. And it was, I think it was the same price. Maybe 20 in the high 20s. And I think I bought that as well, about that price point. I was like, oh, well, I'll have some more of these. That's why I have 3 of the... I was wondering why I did 4, but I'm like, oh, that's right, because I'm actually painting another person's right now. And I've done 1. I did mine. I've done 3, that's correct. I'll do the 4th one when I do that other one. I've done my original ones. I'm talking about Black Widow right now. One. I can't remember now. I feel like I know I've done three of those. Oh, I did one of theirs already, maybe. Maybe. Because I think I started painting the original set. I did. So that's why I've done 3. I have a 4th one that I haven't done yet. And I might paint it. I'm kind of like really eager to move on to some of the other miniatures. So flat is like twice as flat as Paracroll, but it's a style, so not for everyone. I have to try it out. We used to have a great artist store here in the valley near the university, and we were crushed when they closed. People don't do the traditional stuff, and we used to buy paper there, and I used to buy brushes there, and I don't think I actually bought that one bottle of Golden that I showed, but I used to buy other Golden stuff from them. I know I bought the retarder, and I don't remember. There was a few things I bought, one of the last purchases I made before they closed. I mean, I didn't even know they were closing, so I missed the whole closing. I would not have gone there to buy anything. I just get so sad. We used to have Tower Records out here, and one time I'd forgotten they were closing, and I went in to buy something on Tuesday, that was a new release day, and I walked in there and saw the store. I'm like, oh, and I just left because I can't handle it. And they probably weren't getting the new releases anyway since they're closing. I'm pretty certain they weren't, but it was just crushing. And I was like, ugh, because I like to shop that way. I mean, there's not a lot of record stores around here anymore. There's a great one in Hollywood, but they moved to a new location. But yeah, it's a bummer. Thank goodness hobby stores are still hanging in there. But we just don't have anything great here. There's one that we've gone to in Dallas. Well, there's several in Dallas, but the one nearest to where Scott lives is called Common Ground, and it is amazing. They have several brands of paints. They've got tons of Kickstarter games, because their buyer just knows what to buy. He's really good. And I just wish we had something, even just a fraction of that good here in LA, and we just don't. I always get I don't mind answering the questions. I love it. A lot of people put a red or blue ring on the outside of the base. So that's a good idea. I'll tell you that now. I was agonizing over that. So the colors, blue are the heroes, red are the villains, and then there's purple for the like anti-heroes, with folks that kind of go either good or bad. But you only have, well, that's not true. There are some versions of the game that have multiple villains on the board. But you don't have a lot on the board, and I don't sweat it. Everybody just needs to know theirs, and then remember when you're moving the bad guy to move that one, I don't know. I do love them painted, and I do like them consistent looking. I was thinking about 3D printing little snap-in bases that would be different colors, and I bet somebody's already made that model out there, and I could just do that, and then just pop it in there, and then you'd have it, and you'd know what was what. But yeah, I just didn't want to sweat the paint job. I want them to be the same. Like look like especially when you consider how, now that's not how the game's always going to work, but considering how many times the bad guys become the good guys, so, or on the same team, So you can see it's not really that consistently even going on. So that's another thing I haven't mentioned, but supposedly Goobertown Hobbies wasn't supposedly, they actually did an experiment varnishing with spray on. I don't know if he airbrushed, he might have, but versus brush on varnish, and the most durable version was the sprayed on. So I want to try, and I've used Tester's dull coat, I have not even seen that stuff in a long time. Look how his legs look already. They look pretty good. This is just the matte. The matte's good. Man, this stuff is drying fast. But yeah, I think you know, definitely just paint something. Try one of the methods. There's tons of great YouTube videos out there. We've done lots. If you go onto our live page, I don't know if I actually put the other one in PaintNight, but we put them in playlists so you can check them all out. The stuff's not great indication of what it is, but you can actually see, like I was saying, I think I painted either Hella or Dormammu with the airbrush on the stream, because I did some light airbrushing. I have this one here that I might have done this on the stream too. I don't know, a little bit of it. I'm just afraid. I really don't want to mess up the cameras. But I airbrushed this. You know, I airbrushed. I think I might have airbrushed a light highlight and then put this stuff on for his coat. You know, it's like the OSLs, the source of the flames and stuff like that. But he turned out pretty good. I'm not excited about that face. Looks like I need to put some varnish on there, matte varnish on there. I did an ultra matte on the coat because I felt that the coat should not be shiny. Anyway, let me finish this guy. We have Tragedy 65. We have painted, played, excuse me, some on that you probably can find some of them on our live on YouTube. You know, Twitch does not keep it forever. And for the longest time, we were just downloading. That was another reason why we started a co-stream. We stream both on YouTube and Twitch because it goes immediately to YouTube. And I would somehow, I still have some episodes that I have not made live that I would download them from Twitch and then upload them to YouTube, and that's just silly. And so we started to co-stream, and it's not ideal. Our system, PC can handle it, but it's not the best way to do things. But I mean, you can get decent results. Look how this is all dry on the front now. Gosh, nothing's in focus. Other than I just painted the head, the face, and the helm. But that's pretty good. That's the right amount of sheen, I think. Maybe his belt buckle, maybe a little bit more. But that looks cool. It'll dry out and look pretty good. It looks nice. Let's look back at the base on America Chavez. But yeah, we played. So there's one Twitch stream from 2021, which I'm pretty certain is on the GameNight Live. It's me and Scott playing with my mom, playing Marvel United, and my mom did not get it. Nikki was in Minneapolis for a convention, Astra. Wow, my poor arm. I got scraped working out, like dealing with a package that got caught in the gate. It was a bummer. I think I got scraped by the olive tree. Let's do his face. This looks terrible. It's way too shiny. And I feel this is the varnish. Wow, I just touched that. I should not be touching it. It is not dry. Moreland is this character? I don't know this character. But I had fun painting it. It was like a lot of neat color stuff. I don't mind. Maybe I did it with his hair. I don't know. I don't want it to be too shiny. We'll see if this brings it down enough. If not, I'll do a mix of ultra matte and matte. But yeah, so you know, I did some like his shoes and his clothing. You know, like the glow of the flames. It's not great, but it's pretty good. It looks fun. Some people are really, really phenomenal. This was airbrushing. Phenomenal. OSL painters. As a matter of fact, the Big Child Creative stuff is pretty great, and they do all kinds of blue OSL kind of lighting on stuff, and I love it, and I've done a tiny bit of that stuff, but I'm not, that level is going to take it to the, you know, for me to just make it too long to be able to do stuff. Anyway, so let's go look at this. So, I don't know if you can really see it, but the one on the left has way more sheen. And that was with a little bit of, no, wasn't that, I think this one was the one that had ultra matte and satin. I don't remember. I think so. Yes, that was the experiment, and this was just satin, or no, matte. That's weird. Didn't I just paint this with that? I don't know. Anyway, we're gonna do a little bit of ultra matte with something else to do that ground, and probably do it on both of them. Can't hurt. Is this dry already? Gosh, it really is drying fast. This one is still going, so maybe get a drop or two in there and get it working. So it's like the larger pool of it will definitely stay wet longer. I really don't like to handle this one too much. We'll see how this goes. This is not really being scientific. Of course, it's a base. I'm not too worried about it as far as the mix. What's a great entry brush 1 week? This is 1 week notice over on YouTube. I have not, well, I'll answer that question. I don't use, I've mostly been using like these Zem. These are from, I bought these on Amazon. I bought these Sax brushes. These are all synthetic. I bought these Sax ones from schoolsupplies.com or something like that. They were like let me show you. They're like $8 or something like that, or $10 for 6 brushes. I've already pulled one of these out, I think. I think these are the 2s. I like the Golden Taklon, but you know, these are good brushes and they're not expensive. But I have also bought really inexpensive brushes. Do I still have them out here? No, I put them away. I can show you some here though. These are 144 brushes for 25 bucks. So they're 30 cents, 40 cents a piece, not even that. And they do a good job. Not all of them are great. I was saying earlier, the number 1 is not great. It's too short. They don't really do a good point. But these are pretty great, but I think you should buy at least a decent one. So buying like, even Hobby Lobby, Nikki doesn't like Hobby Lobby, but I have one brush from them that was really good. It was a Golden Taklon, cost like $4 or $5. Don't spend a lot. Just get started on it. If you find that you want a higher quality brush, you know, like using, I think miniature painting with sables, you know, if you're a competition painter, then it's a different story. But if you're just a regular painter and you're absolutely just getting started out, don't go crazy. My biggest problem is like Michaels doesn't have good stuff. Michaels doesn't have good stuff anymore, and or very little, depending on the store. Maybe they might have some actually high grade, high end brushes, but and not even actually. I don't think Hobby Lobby has high end stuff, but let me see if I can find it. Their one brush that I bought, I've only used it a few times, but I was very impressed. Let's see if I can see it here. Who knows? It has a different, crud. I have something in the way which doesn't help. Okay. It was kind of like a yellow brush. I'm not seeing it. And I just, oh, there's that one that came off of that one, I guess. Oh, let me see over here. I have a mug that has like all that stuff in it mostly. But don't spend too much. You're especially gonna probably mess it up. So yeah, here's the one. This was Hobby Lobby. Master's Touch Round, number 3. They have like a fake sable thing going on here, but it's a golden taklon essentially. And it's great point. I use a brush cleaner to I leave it in the brush so it's stiff, and it helps. There's a tiny bit of curl on the tip because I've used this a few times, but that's where you really run into issues. Now, I've heard, and I've not done it yet, you can stick it in hot water and it will straighten that, it'll help straighten out that curl. And then you leave it with, so this is the brush soap I'm using. Well, let me show an empty a new bottle. You just brush your, put your brush in here with some, let's do this. You keep pulling it, so you never put the bristles only along with towards the tip, right? And then I use my palm. I've got, I guess bumpy enough skin here that it helps pull the paint out of the ferrule, which is the part that holds the bristles, the metal part here. It gets very close, and the one thing about doing the trick, maybe trying the hot water to straighten the brush. I will try it and give you some feedback on it. The issue is if it's too hot, you're going to release the glue. You got to be careful. You really only want to stick the tip into the tip, very end of the brush into the hot water. So then, let me just do it the way I normally do it. So I clean the brush. It's pretty clean there. And then I do a little bit more of the soap. And then I roll it on my palm to get a point. This brush has been used a lot, and I just have been varnishing with it, so it's tired. But you can help revitalize the tip by rolling it on your hand and then letting it dry. This is one that I did previously, and it's pointed and it's still doing great. And you can do really great work with it. I feel getting used to a larger brush is probably the right idea. I still use these detail brushes, fine detail brushes for things. You need them. You can't not have them. This precise detail one, I think, came in something I bought of Army Painter, I believe. But this Low Cornell was one that I bought at Michael's when Michael's used to have decent brushes still. So that's years. I've had this for years, probably 18 years or something like that, maybe more than that. But it's stiff. I put some of this stuff in. It still works. I'm gonna dance. Hey, Heart Board Games. Thanks for the raid. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm kind of wrapping it up. Okay, so we had another one. Tragedy65 asked if I paint the clear plastic parts. I have not done it yet, but I plan to do some of the contrast. I will not do any undercoating. I will just paint contrast paints like this color or something on the flame things, because that's mostly like, there's a dark phoenix or something that has like a flame, and I want it to stay transparent. So I'll do some darkening the colors with these things. See how it goes. I hope to do some. That's one reason why I really want to get to the X-Men stuff, because none of the Marvel United first set stuff was that way. He still looks kind of shiny. I think I need to do... Did I do matte? I really feel like I did. I don't know. Let me try one more time. Make sure I've got matte. Can't hurt to cover his face. Hey, Heart Board Games. How you doing? Do a tiny bit. I can't really tell. Wow, gosh. I've been using this ultra matte varnish, and it's this to this level. I have this much left to go. it goes a long way. You don't have to spend a lot. I also, unless you have tons of room, don't spend a lot of, don't try to, you know, hopefully have a good amount of space. I just cleaned that brush. I'm gonna paint with it. It's fine, because I'm using this one as a varnish brush now. Boy, that is very dry. It's drying so quickly. It's funny, his eyes are flatter than his skin, and I want his eyes to be slightly shinier. We'll see. We'll let this dry, and I may have to do an ultra matte slash matte mix. Let that dry. But I really like, I didn't actually show this to 1 week notice. This is the set I bought. This is not a bad thing to do. This cost me $25 or 20. I think it was 25. It's as little as 25 and as high as about 40 if you look on eBay or Amazon. Gives you 144 brushes. I mean, you can use these for anything, but these are the ones that are disappointing. They're not very pointy. There's a few in there, but I like longer bristles anyway, so ultimately it's not that big of a loss, and you can do things like varnish and everything else with it, or base coating, or, you know, dry brushing. These are a little long for dry brushing, but 144 brushes is a lot, and I'm pretty certain this set actually was $26 on Amazon. It's pretty great, especially since you don't have to spend, you know, you don't really want to spend a ton of money. You want to, I mean, put it into the games. Don't go too crazy. So this is the one wow, okay, so look how matte that is. I did not do a great job. So that was this mix here. Wow, that looks good though. So it's going to be a little bit more durable. I've done several coats now. Let's just do this one as well. Oh, I did not call my mom last night because we were filming. I need to call her. I want these to be, even though the people that are getting the minis, they're not gonna see my minis because they live on the other side of the country. But I want them to be similar. I try to make them as similar as I can. I almost always give the one I think is the better paint job to the other people. I did that for Scott. I had one that I did the Night Haunt minis from Marvel Games Workshop Warhammer Underworlds, and I was just happier with those, and I think he would appreciate them, and he's more likely to play with them than I am necessarily. Wow, I have a lot of varnish. I guess I'm just going to let it go. I don't have a ton of things to paint. I do have some. Let's just get to some of this. It seems to be the right level of sheen. Who needs varnishing? I feel like this one has not been done. Let's do it. I think I'm going to leave the mini itself. I'm going to probably use a regular matte varnish on it, maybe the satin varnish, because I want the armor to be shiny, even though I think that's, you don't want it to be too shiny because then it distracts from the actual paint job. You want the paint job to give you the sense of highlights. But yeah, I have a bunch I have not varnished, so. Again, what time was it? I got 20 minutes. one of the things, I actually did a pretty good job on, I'll show you in a minute, let me varnish this. Actually, I'll put this on the whole thing and put another coat of a slightly shinier one maybe on top. This one is kind of messy down here at the base because I had to fix this one. This one fell and it snapped off like immediately, landed on the ground right beneath the chair here and just snapped off. And I'm like, wow. And so I had to pin it back onto the base because it's just too narrow. And I only was able to use one. So pinning is you drill a hole through the base and into the miniature to give it some more support to hold it to the base. I'm sorry, not in the shot. And I just used a paper clip and it took some work and I ended up, man, this is terrible. I'm trying to go fast. Don't go fast. Don't rush. But you can see here, I drilled it through, pushed it in, because this one I was able to do it. Sometimes I don't even have it out anymore, but it is Sentinel where his arm broke in shipping. And so I just did that to his. I put the arm in and super glued it, and it's pretty strong. It shouldn't be an issue. The downer is, I mean, I wanted to get, like, I kind of wanted to write them to get it replaced, but it's just like, it's not worth it, and it's too much of a hassle. And the miniature's fine, and ultimately it's stronger for me pinning it. I haven't painted it yet, but I'm eager. That's another one I want to paint. I have not done any large scale miniatures of the Marvel United. Those are the first larger ones, I think. I'm very excited about the Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur one. That's one I want to paint. And I'm excited about Galactus. I'm really excited about that one too. It's not huge like the Marvel Zombies one, but definitely don't handle them too much while after you've painted them until you've got varnish on them. They really don't handle well. It is a real concern, and you don't want to mess up your paint job. Tragedy 65. I'm varnishing for. Actually, I'm generally the only time I really varnish for looks is if I'm maybe going for the matte, which I was doing on Daredevil there, or lenses or gems. But mostly, I'm varnishing to protect the miniature. It's so easy for them to get banged up, or and just a little protection is worth it. But particularly the handling, I've got experience from, like I showed that old Eldar miniature. That is definitely not varnished, because I think I was using the dull coat after that. Well, I wish this would focus. And feels like something's there. But yeah, you really need to protect it, particularly with the contrast paints. They are thin. I don't know. I'm pretty certain that the speed paints are very similar. So you really need to varnish it to protect them. Did I get the rest of his hand done? I don't know that I did. And I really want to try. I have not sprayed on varnish with an airbrush in a very long time, and definitely nothing modern. And so I want to do that to see how good it is. And I was pretty impressed with that video that Goobertown Hobbies did, Brent did. It was great because it really showed you a lot, like, hey, here's what you got to watch out for, and look how much. Now, he was doing lots of movement. These would get moved a lot, you know, you're moving them around the board. I think you definitely have to. Look, I think there's a part there that has been rubbed off on his head where I probably got touched too much because I hadn't varnished it. So I'm probably going to need to touch that up with a little bit of the red. because this is one that's been sitting here on my desk, and you know, I'm showing stuff on the stream and I'm handling it, and it's really not good for the minis. This is pretty matte. Look at his leg. That leg right here, there's a tiny bit of shininess, but that's pretty matte. It actually doesn't look bad. The metallic kind of shines a little more. So maybe that's the way to go. Let's do Moon Knight. All of these need to be painted. I do the rim the last. This one was actually one I had to straighten. If you can see, it's warped. And I did an okay job straightening it out. But it was a disappointment, you know, the way these get cast. One of them I had popped off the miniature holder when I was painting it on stream. It was like, wow. So it was, I probably had it too wide. I don't actually put it as, I only do it just to have a certain slight amount of tension to hold it on now. I was like, wow, because these are really not rigid. Again, these are the first wave. I have painted some. I think the set that I'm painting for my friend are first wave, but they were made in the second wave where they've changed the formulation for the plastic that they use. And the end result is, I think the plastic is better. I was cleaning these minis that I was painting both sets, and I found it easier, and they were in better shape from the get-go in the other ones, the newer production run. So I think the new plastic is better. It's not, I really like Games Workshop. I don't know that it's the best, but I like the way theirs work. And the end result is very nice plastic with sharp detail. So yeah, I don't know what the story is. I will definitely put a couple coats on the rim itself, because you do sometimes touch it, but you definitely want, like on the top of the miniature where you're going to handle it, you want a couple of coats before you handle it much, because it really does protect them. But yeah, the challenge is seeing where you're not getting it, right? I've noticed on every one of these I've been painting on the stream, there's been a spot that I didn't catch. And it doesn't really matter, but it is weird when it's shinier than, like a little spot is shinier than what the rest of the area. I'm almost out of varnish. Not out, just out of this mix. That's the downer. I don't know what this mix is. It was, I think I put Ultra Matte. It's weird that the Ultra Matte kind of is powerful. It knocks down the shine quite a bit. But I'm happy to paint, to be painting these, varnishing these, because I did not get to these soon enough. I mean, I haven't overhandled them, but I still don't want to. I don't want to mess them up. I'm actually pretty. You can't really see it. I'm pretty happy with the paint job, like on his gloves here. I did some little highlights and stuff. I love looking at the paint jobs. That's one of the great things about these sets. These first ones, they didn't do really good photographs to see. Not that photos are fine, but they didn't show you enough. Mostly, if there were multiple shots, they were just a tiny bit of a change in the area that you're seeing, and that was a bummer. The X-Men one and the Marvel multiverse ones were photographed front and back, so they don't have as many angles just to go around the front a little bit, but they definitely have the front and back clearly, so you can see what's going on. I am out of varnish. I'll paint this bit here. Drying pretty quick. Well, let me mix a little bit more because I am not done. Take care, Tragedy65. I hope you've figured some stuff out. It's awesome. Definitely paint minis. It's really fun. Matte and varnish. I really like doing it. It's fun. And oh wow, look at that. Look how quickly that dried. It's almost completely dry. I mean, in the crevices it's not. But it kind of looks good. The sheen of the I keep using sheen. The shine of the look, there's another spot of like red that I missed. Metallic looks pretty great. I really like these. Wow, I think it's the ultra. Oh no, this is the matte. It is the matte that's a little thicker. I'm painting that outside yet. Well, I'm going to use this one, so it'll be okay. I'm a little concerned about mixing the sheen, so I'm doing stuff completely. Get that out of the shot. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm getting off the camera. I got a little bit of black paint on that, and I'm not going to worry about it. I have a tendency to like be having a brush with paint in it while I'm moving around miniatures, which don't do. It's not a good idea. You might touch stuff and it's not fun. You can, if you work quickly, you can clean it up most of the time, but I didn't even notice that one, so my loss. That looks nice. It's good to get through these. I really need to get as much of these done as I can, because I really want them to, I want to put them back in the box. I was nervous about it. I'm not sure about the storage of using the game boxes because I'm nervous about the plastic sticking to the paint job. We'll see. I was really looking for a good storage solution, and I basically just, I really didn't want them sitting around getting dust. They definitely get dust pretty bad. Lots of surface to catch hairs and stuff. Oops, I'm off camera again. Darn it. I'm burning through the varnish quickly here. It's interesting, both of these have like a little tear there. I guess it's supposed to be a tear in the fabric. I'm kind of shocked about it because both of them have it. I don't know if there's I haven't seen the third one yet. I can't wait to see Scott's. Shoot, I left this thing open beneath here where I'm sitting. I need more varnish. I'm almost really gonna, I have to call my mom here. Never before, is it possible to strip all the paint off a Mini? Absolutely, I just was talking about that a little bit ago. One of the things, with any kind of paint, you can generally get it off, but like if you're using acrylics, this LA is totally awesome, which you can get for very inexpensively at the dollar store and stuff like that. If you soak it in this overnight, the paint will basically just fall right off. You use a brush, you scrub it off, and then you really must clean it. You have to give it a really thorough cleaning before you try putting the primer back on, but it's not a problem at all, and it's totally, you should just go for it. You know what I mean? Don't worry about it. You can always fix it. And, wow, was that too dry? Oh, it was the other reservoir. Shoot, another extra drop. Maybe not so good. Maybe I'll do the other one more drop. But yeah, it really is great. I've stripped minis before because I've bought minis that were, you know, like, I think on eBay, maybe. And also I think my friend sold me a bunch. Now those were metal and some plastic, and they all stripped great. And you can easily rewind. I mean, the other thing you can do is just, as long as it's not crazy detailed, like these minis are not that crazy detailed. You could just recoat them and, you know, undercoat them and try again. It's not a bad thing. But like if you're using something that's heavily detailed, you know, your multiple coats will hurt it. It really depends. Like if you paint it with brush, you tend to put it on a little thicker, and so it's more of a challenge to keep the detail. This definitely looks different. Now these were primed, I think, at different times, but maybe not. This might have been one that I actually primed at the same time. Can't remember. I don't think I did. I think I came back and primed the second one after I'd done the one, but I hadn't painted anything until I did them both. But stripping's not a problem. It's totally doable. It doesn't, I'm sorry, I'm not painting on camera. I'm getting too excited here. I'm trying to get stuff done. It's totally, you can really just roll it back and start over, and it's not a problem, and it's worth doing it if you really are not happy. That is, I gotta call my mom, but I'm gonna snooze. Oops, I did snooze it, great. I've been having issues with the phone, like doing things I don't want to do. Like, what? The touch interface has not been great. Looks pretty good. This one's mostly dry. Let's look at them real quick. That looks good. It's a little matte. I might do another coat, but that looks good. I want the fabric. I want it to be kind of matte. I guess let's do blade here. Maybe I can get one of these done before. I think it's done. There's a grate there. I didn't do any varnish on it, but I mean any metallic or something like that. Oops, not in camera. So I will probably come back and do a gloss on his glasses, or maybe at least a satin on his glasses. I don't think that's a bad thing. Some people don't, you know, if you're doing competition level paint jobs, you don't want to do too much gloss. I mean, obviously certain things you're going to need it, but you want it to, you want the paint job to give you the bright spots and stuff like that, which is where you get distracted from, you know, it takes away the paint job if you do too much shiny stuff. I don't worry about that. Boy, I'm going to really need to clean this brush. It is definitely getting thick with varnish. I might put a bit of a sheen on the sword. I did not do any highlighting underneath, but it's not visible, so I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, let's try to do what we can on the base. I save the rim, varnishing the rim until I am done, once it's completely dry on the top, because man, you don't want to touch it. So I'll maybe come back tomorrow. I might have some time to paint, which would be exciting. I have some things I need to do though. Well, there you go. Let's take a peek at the other one here. Some of the other ones I did. Let's look at Moreland's face real quick. Wow, it is still shiny. What the heck? I guess I need to try just do a matte. I don't know if that's a matte though. I think that was a... I'll have to do it specifically. I did paint his gem here with a shiny paint. Well, you can't see that, I'm sorry. But his face is still shiny. Now, you know, shiny's not too bad on faces. It's pretty matte, but it looks cool. It's not perfect there. Is that dry or? I don't think it's dry. I don't think it's painted well. Let's look at Daredevil. Daredevil looks good. I'm really impressed with the ultra matte on the stone there. It looks fantastic. And let's see, we have one of these guys that's mostly dry. There he is. That looks good. Well, there you go. Where is the mouse? Cool. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for all the chat. I did a terrible job. My first time painting, I used Army Speed paints. Okay. Came out splotchy, so I want to start over, maybe with a different type of paint. Neurodivergent, look at some of my videos. The speed paints and the contrast paints are not bad. You just need to work with your technique. This is where I did this undercoating that was, I did it, oh shoot, let's cut back. I did it where this is painted black, then gray at a 45, entirely black, gray at a 45-degree angle. This is with an airbrush, and then I sprayed down directly on the top. You can do that, a good approximation of it with just spray paint, either hand painting it black with a good primer, brush on primer, and then just white from the top. And I cheat things. I put a little bit more on their face because I want their face to show up. So I will airbrush it a little bit more to get it whiter, and then put the speed paints on it. And don't try to, you want to keep putting it on wet. It needs to stay wet, and you just keep working it. And then the other thing I try to do is work up to the darkness level I want. That way it doesn't get splotchy. You can get still splotchy. I mean, I had some working on him to try to get it, and it's pretty good. I'm not dissatisfied. Nobody's skin is super smooth looking. But I think you can get great results with speed paints. Army Painter speed paints are not bad. I have some now. I used this one, Fire Giant Orange, on some Hearthkin League of Votan minis, and it was great. Anyway, there's the call my mom thing. I do want to call her. I did not get a chance to call her yesterday. Everybody have a great weekend. It's Thursday already. Hopefully you will be able to join us. I'll be painting again next Tuesday in the morning. Nikki and I will be back with a live stream on Thursday. That will be, what's today, the 5th? That'll be the 12th. And then we'll have another 11 days before we, I think, or 12 days before we go to Germany, so for Spiel. And then we won't be streaming for a few weeks. There'll be some other great streams on there. I'm going to make sure the schedule's up to date, even though we're leaving before the end of September. But I will try to make sure the schedule, and I can still work on it while I'm away. Hope everybody has a great one. And thank you for joining me. Let's see real quick if there's somebody we can raid. I'm hoping Wapelius is painting. Wapelius is amazing. If you want to learn how to paint minis, his oil paint, I mean, he's just so talented. I'm not even, really, really fantastic. And I love seeing his paint jobs. Let me search. Boy, something's wrong with this stuff. Because we're not seeing... I don't think he's streaming. Okay, does anybody know anybody that's streaming now? Man, this is terrible. Keep your eye out for Wapelius. He's a great painter. Paints with an oil paints, and is just so good. I am not seeing anybody. I don't understand what's going on with. This is terrible. Well, I guess we won't raid. Bummer. Everybody take care. Thank you for joining me. It was awesome having you all on, and lots of great comments. It was awesome. And I hope we can see you guys all again soon. Take care and keep cool. It's definitely warm. Bye, everybody.